Okay, welcome to another Miracle Monday where Mom and I have the conversations that we have all the time. But on Mondays, we record them in the hopes that it inspires somebody in some way. Um, and Mom just said as we came on, it might be a short one today. So we'll see where we land. But the only thing on my mind, so we pop on briefly. There's nothing planned in this, but we pop on to just see like what's going on in our lives that we might want to chat about. And Mom is in a space right now where you're not like there's nothing sort of going on where you've been contemplating this or thinking that, which is a beautiful space to be. To me, that must mean that you're in a really good spot right now. Um, and I only have one thing really on my mind right now because of where I live and what's going on. And so let's talk about that and see where we land. I do think it's an important conversation. So I'm going to share what's happening for anybody who's listening. But the conversation isn't actually around what's happening. It's like, our responses to what's happening. Because anyway, so I live in Penticton. There's a very large forest fire in Summerland all the way to Peachland, and there are evacuation alerts right past Penticton. Like it's a big fire. There's been a lot of like homes lost, a lot of devastation, a lot of loss. Let's just say a lot of loss. Um, the evacuees are here in Penticton. Penticton is housing them, so that's and a lot of them have lost their homes and have nothing. And so people are camping on the streets and sleeping in their cars. And, it's just there's a reality to it that's like very real, let's say. Like all of the emotions of sad and scared and devastated and like all of those things, they're real. Like very real. I'm looking out and it's just a blanket of smoke. My decks, are covered in ash that I'm vacuuming and sweeping and trying to clean up. Like it's a very interesting time. Um, and what I've really been focusing on within me, and this is where I think the conversation we can have is there's a reality that I can't deny. And this is not about me pretending it's not happening and, trying to like this isn't about feeling happy and at peace and joyful and vibrant. Like that isn't the goal right now in a situation like this. I feel like the goal is how can I have some inner peace? How can I stay grounded? How can I not live in complete fear where my body is flooded with cortisol and worry and panic and worst case scenarios and all of that. So that's where I'm like focusing on what are the things that I do have control over? How can I look after my own inner world in the best way that I can for my own health and well-being, for my ability to show up and be of service, like for my ability to be clear-headed so I can make decisions on like when would it make sense for me to leave and when like all of those things. So, when I talk about like intentional living and, being really intentional, yeah, sometimes I'm talking about like being happy and, loving your life and all that stuff. And then other times it's like it has a different purpose. And so I don't really know where to go with the conversation, except that I know that, like, as an example, I'm being really like, I'm going to say careful, purposeful, intentional with like what information I'm taking in. I don't want to see everybody's sort of panic and worry about the air quality that I'm breathing and the, you know, potential of the fire coming in and just all of the things. Like, I don't want to live in that fear. I want to be smart. I want to pay attention to the degree that I know what I need to do. And so there's this like juggling act between being informed and the reality that's in front of me, us, everyone, and then protecting self so that my inner world is as good as it can be in a time like this. So do you have any thoughts?
I'm just listening.
I
Um,
know.
no, but I think that it's aligned with what we talk about all the time or our belief system and so on. It's like it's the acceptance of what is happening. We've had this conversation
Yeah,
really recently. It's the acceptance of what's happening, and then how can I respond appropriately or purposefully, or I mean, with the things going on, how can we be of service then? Right? Can
yeah,
I send money? Can I send clothing? Can I, like, is there a positive purpose to me paying attention? Am I paying attention to the needs, or am I just going to get caught in the emotional distress? Because it is horrible. I mean, I can't imagine what these people are going through. But can I be of any service whatsoever if I'm so down sitting in my house? I'm not helping anybody, not
mhm,
helping myself, and I'm certainly not helping others. And I won't even come up with ideas on how to help others
yeah,
when I'm so down.
yeah,
So I think there's like that balance, but I don't think it's any different from how we want to think or live our life, period. It's like
yeah,
taking in the information. And then what do I do with that
yeah,
information? How can I
yeah,
serve? What's my purpose in knowing this or wanting to do this? Or it still goes down to all those same things.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, so we went on Saturday and tried to volunteer where we knew people were being housed. They actually had enough volunteers there to that they didn't need anymore. I mean, and it was so beautiful. The other thing is, this is like a sidetrack. This is like, which I'll come right back to, is like, in times like this of sheer sort of devastation, seeing the beauty in humanity, seeing all of
Mhm.
the volunteers just coming, people were in the parking lot, had brought their barbecues and stuff like that, and were barbecuing like hot dogs and stuff to just give out to people. Like,
Mhm.
you know, that is a beautiful side to this. And it actually almost brought me to tears for a brief moment. And then I stopped myself because I didn't want to go into that place of feelings, but it brought me back to like when we were caught in the mudslides. It totally
Mhm.
reminded me of that. It brought me right back. And for a moment, I went back there and, and then it was like, okay, well, that's not going to help me. Um, but yeah, the beauty of humanity. But we went and we wanted to do that. Like, what can we do? We're not going to be going for walks and sitting on the beach and doing all the things. My friend is here, as for a weekend, and the weekend is not at all what we had planned. But what can we do? And if I'm living in fear at home, worrying and panicking, I'm not going to be thinking, what can I do to make a difference? We went to volunteer. That didn't, work out, but at least we could have peace knowing everybody was sort of looked after in that way. We also went, Peach Fest got canceled, and they did a really beautiful pivot. Here's another example of like people being resourceful and pivoting. It's like Peach Fest is a big deal here in Penticton, and it brings in a lot of tourists and a lot of money for small businesses and all these things. And it got canceled, which is devastating also in a whole different way. To the people who spent a lot of time, money, and energy to come here and think that this is where they're making their most money, as like the little lemonade stand. I talked to that owner when I was walking the dog as she was breaking down. And we actually had a little, I haven't told you this, but we had a little cry together because I said, I know there's not space for this because there's so much loss and devastation, but I just want you to know that I am so sorry. I know that you would have prepared for this weekend, and that it would have cost you money to get prepared. And now, anyway, she was just so grateful, and was in tears and just said thank you. Like, she too knows she can't really be sad about the lost revenue when all these people are, have lost their homes. But the truth is that is really sad too. Like, it's just so impactful in so many different ways. But I don't even remember where I was going with this, but
But I think what you
oh,
just
the
said is
concert.
okay. Can I just make
Yeah,
one? Well,
yeah,
we'll remember the concert, but
yeah,
I think it's important too to not measure, well, this is worse than this. Like
yeah,
for her, that would be really challenging. It doesn't take away from, oh my God, what happened to these other people?
yeah,
But we have to be allowed to feel our feelings for ourselves and for others.
yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
that's just what you made me think of.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I've really been thinking about the small business owners, I guess maybe because I'm one of them, but it's like I've really been thinking about. I went into Still Food Bistro, my their walls were covered with baked goods because this is the busiest weekend of the year for Penticton. So all of the bakeries, all of the whatever, they've baked like so much and now there's nobody here to, so of course they're all taking them to donate them and it's all beautiful, but the reality is that cost the small business owner a lot of money that, anyways, there's just so much and I just, I just have compassion for all the different people in all the different ways. But what I was gonna say is like
Yeah.
back to being resourceful. But it is those little things too, like walking past that woman and acknowledging while she was breaking down her stand. Like that's the
Hmm.
person I want to be. I want to be the
Hmm.
person who notices and says something to
Hmm.
that, to that woman.
But
Um,
not just notices. I think what you said was important. Notices and says something.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's really, really important.
yeah. And then Peach Fest pivoted and they decided, one of the bands was in town anyways because they were going to be playing. And so they decided, so the hotel right here donated a ballroom and the band moved inside and they did a fundraising event. So they, all proceeds, you entered by donation and all the proceeds were going to help the evacuees and the firefighters and all of that. So we didn't know the band. We didn't necessarily feel like going to a concert. Like, we weren't, it wasn't to be like joyful and dance and go to this band that we, but it was like, let's go to that. Let's donate money. Let's
Mhm.
come together as community. So we went and we did that. And, and I have my passports together and my, some important documents in a bag. And we know when we will leave, like at what point would we decide to leave and where we'll go to your house and all of these things like we mapped out the plan. Well, I don't know that I could do that and be here in this way if I didn't have the ability to ground myself, to be intentional, to be careful about what I allow in and not, to see the beauty at the same time, to see the beautiful human side, like I mean, there is a mindset behind all that and beliefs in a way of being in the world that is um helping me right now.
Mhm. Which I think too, like, as you're speaking about all the people like in the parking lot and bringing their barbecues and doing all that, and I know it's different where you are because you've already mentioned it, but in terms of connecting with people, we're very isolated. Like
Yeah,
the way we live as human beings now, generally speaking, we're very isolated. And that just shows the need for community,
yeah,
right? People want to be of service. They want to connect with other people. They want
yeah.
to do meaningful things, but we don't always have an opportunity. It's like me looking for some place to volunteer. Where can I volunteer? And I haven't been very successful really in finding a place that I can do what I feel
That's
I
right.
can do to truly be of service, you
Because
know?
that's not for you going to be barbecuing hot dogs. Like,
No, that's so not going
yeah,
to be me.
yeah,
But, how can I do what I do where I can truly be of service, And so I think again, it shows that we need community and people are really beautiful and kind
yeah,
and, caring. We just don't have a lot of opportunities to do that, to put ourself aside
yeah,
and truly focus on other people and how we can help and be of service.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, all I'm thinking as you're talking is this isn't about like the fire in Summerland and the evacuees in Penticton. This is again a way of living life, whatever the challenge is, because we're all thrown different challenges at different times. And first of all, I just need to preempt this because I don't want to live with thinking this is not about me and the fire. Like I am in my
Mhm.
home, I am safe, like I'm blessed. So it's not like anything in my world has been rocked. But there's people, in the same situation who are rocked simply by, you know, by the potential of what could be. but I just want to say, like, mapping this beyond this fire, I do think it's, you started with saying this. And I think this is where what you are and I are like here to literally on this planet doing this journey together to share somehow with the world is it isn't about whether it's a fire, whether it's a business challenge, whether it's a health challenge, whether it's a relationship challenge, whether it's a like life does have these things that happens to be part of like what happens here on earth, right?
Mhm.
And so how do we like what tools do we have and how do we live in the challenge?
Mhm.
Because it's easy to be sort of happy and whatever when, and I'm not even searching for happy right now, but it's easy to go through life like when in the times of life, because those times happen too, where like life is cooperating and it's good and that you're in the flow and it feels so good. It's easy to be the person you want to be, whatever that means. But who are we at the times where it isn't that, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and like I say, you always like as you're speaking, it's like I think it's really important not to minimize or compare
Yeah,
this to this. So this
yeah,
isn't as devastating as this is. So
yeah,
stop moaning and think
yeah,
about
that's right.
something else. Or, I think it's about honoring everyone and just noticing, things do happen and how can I be the very best version of myself within this, whatever this is.
That's right. It actually has nothing to do with anybody else.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like this isn't about, like you said, right or wrong or how people should do it. This is like, how do I want to feel as I live my life? And what are the things that I can do to be as okay as I can be in a certain situation? And then having the tools and the beliefs and like all of the things to be able to experience my life in a way that to the best of my ability that I want to. And same for you and same for everybody else. So the
Hmm.
action, what people do to achieve that is going to be very different. It's going to be very individual,
Hmm.
but this is about whoever is listening. It's like, how do you want to experience your life? How do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? How do and then what do you need to do in order for you to be able to be that person and live your life in that way,
Hmm.
in spite of what might be happening in this given
Hmm.
moment?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, and again, I think that it is just a way of being and thinking and yeah, where do you focus your attention? But if you believe that you have to get connected to the devastation, then how can you serve? What
Yeah,
can you do? But if you connect at a level that inspires you to take action to help in some way, that's very different.
yeah,
If it's so self-centered that you feel devastated and you're just hanging out in a corner or talking to people about how bad it is, then how are you serving?
yeah,
It's what do you do with what's happening around you,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
You know? Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, I don't know that there's much more to say about that. I
No.
really do feel like it's another of many examples that we're getting to live right now of not being able
Yes.
to control what happens outside of us. And really the only thing we have is taking control of of our inner world and what's
Yeah.
inside of us. And
Yeah.
well, and I'll just say this, and maybe this will take us on a tangent, and maybe we'll close off and talk about this another day. But that right now, my real focus, well, leading before this fire happened, it was like
Hmm.
surrendering to what is, not holding on so tight, wanting to control, feeling like I can even control, and this was in the context of another challenge, but it's the same thing this weekend, like surrendering to what is, that song, um, singing it in my mind, like,
Hmm.
yeah, because at the end of the day, all we have is like this inner world.
Hmm. And surrender, we've said this before, but I do think it's worth mentioning again. Surrender doesn't mean giving up.
Yes, yes.
Surrender
In
means
some ways, it's even
acceptance.
the opposite, but
Right.
yeah,
By surrendering, it opens up a space for us to then decide how do I want to move forward?
Yeah,
How can I move forward? So I think that's really important because we
yeah,
talked about it, I think maybe in the past, I don't know if it's clearly, but around my
yeah,
health, it was the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Surrendering is not giving up. It's
yeah,
opening a space to move forward in some way.
yeah. And it is like allowing what is. We can still have our intention and we can still have the outcomes that we want and we can still dream and want something to be different. But the energy prior to surrendering is more of like holding on tight, like a need, a control, wanting to control versus letting go and allowing what is and still having the intention and still taking the actions and still doing the things, but doing it from a very different place.
Mhm. And I would say also knowing what we know about the mind and the brain, you will come up with different ideas than you
Yeah,
would if you were holding on tight and
that's
tried
right.
to control something that you can't control. Your ideas are going to be very different from the surrender. Okay, this is what's happening. Now, what can I do about that? How can I move forward with that? What do I like? You will
Yeah,
come up with different ideas. You can't come up with the same ideas in
yeah,
those two different states of mind. You
that's right.
just can't.
Yeah. Which is the same kind of thing with the fire. It's like you can't be of service and be thinking about how can I help and how can I, if you're over in a corner panicking about what might be coming.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, exactly. And just
yeah,
talking about all the things that are happening, all the devastation, the very specifics. If your energy is all on that, where's the space for you to come up with an idea of
yeah,
being able to be a support in a way that you had never really thought about before, right?
yeah,
So yeah, it's all mindset. I
yeah,
mean, it is about our mind and our heart and
yeah.
yeah, and following our heart and all those
And
things.
we're all on our own journey and there's no right or wrong. There's just what's right for me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon, but see you here
Yeah.
next Monday.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.